Welcome back to the Mindful Man Project. Today I have Jed Hardiman. Jed Hardiman is a mate of mine. We've probably known each other for about the last 20 years, going all the way back to about year 8, I think, in school. Jed has done a vast array of things throughout his life since leaving school. He's a wonderful dude. At the moment, he is the big boss man of the F45 out there at Dubbo, and he is kicking goals, helping people realize their health, well-being goals. He's operated his own prestige car body shop, detailing cars that are in excess of $2 million. He's also traveled the world being a PT, teaching people around the world what he knows, and now found himself out there in Dubbo. Welcome, Jed. How's the beard going there?
Mate, I need to. The barbers are all shut out here.
It's a solid ISO beard. I thought mine was going all right.
It's getting terroristy, eh? All the barbers are closed out here, so I'm just I've got the missus cutting my hair.
Oh, really? So they're not letting them cut. They're not letting them cut up there.
No, it doesn't seem to be, eh? So
that's
missus has been running it.
That's the one good thing. My barber's still open, so I've gone in there for a trim. So
that's handy.
Yeah, I was getting a bit woolly.
Yeah, mate, it's not a bad thing. It's getting cold out here. Extra warm. Yeah.
How's things been today? What's been happening in your world up there?
Just the usual Monday, mate. Went into the studio, ran a live session for my members. Came home, did my own session in my ISO garage.
What do you call it? What do you call it? The sled?
The slaughter shed. Yeah. So I'm lucky that I could get all my equipment out of the studio, and just fit out the garage. Keeping me going. A couple of sessions in there a day.
That's handy. So yeah, you're running F45 up there in Dubbo, and how are you guys like pivoting and taking on this new challenge of obviously being now having to turn it into an online virtual experience? Like, how's the members reacted, and how have you been able to get that in place so quickly?
Yeah, the initially we were sort of unsure how to put in a plan because the regulations and what the government was coming out with was changing rapidly. Initially, we were going to try and run boot camps, but then they sort of restricted it to 10, and then in a couple of days, even less. So that sort of went out the window. And then we looked towards essentially just streaming our workouts via Zoom through the studio. So me and one of my trainers, and it took a week or two to sort of get momentum and obviously get it out there. That's what we were doing, but it's been received pretty well now. Pretty positive feedback. It's not an ideal situation. Like everyone's used to, that studio vibe. The studio energy, the trainers face to face, but obviously with the challenge we got at the moment and the spatial awareness and all that sort of stuff, we're just limited to basically body weight stuff in our lounge rooms and just trying to stay as connected as we can through a camera, which is weird, but it seems to be working for now. Yeah, it's going good.
That's good, mate. It's like, that's one of the best things about it. It's like being able to bring the fitness and have, especially in these times at the moment when, if it wasn't available, there's that mental health side of things that people would really be starting to kind of get into those doldrums and take that slippery slope. And being able to still offer that service is pretty much, I'd say, probably a pretty valuable resource for your community, I'd say, wouldn't it?
Yeah, for sure. So I think a lot of people, they're realizing more, especially with this scenario, where the gym's been taken from you, the effects it has on your mental health as well. A lot of people sort of maybe take that for granted and don't realize, that the endorphins and the sort of, the positive headspace that training puts you in, and this isolation. Not just the gym being taken away, but the fact that you're isolated to, restricted to your house with who you can socialize with and all that sort of stuff. It's definitely impacting on people's mental health in some cases more than their physical health. So
Yeah.
definitely the feedback around not just, keeping active and fit physically, but people, engaging and exercising is definitely helping with that mental side.
It's amazing. It's amazing what you've been able to do and turning it around and still allowing the people to access it. And the times that we are at the moment, it's vital, and it's a great thing to be able to do.
Definitely.
And I know, like, you've got your own mental health passion and stuff behind that, and like, where did that kind of grow from? Like, you're pretty, like, adept in what is the stats and everything of, like, what's going on with everybody, and you've always been a mate for me who's reached out to me to see what's going on. And so
likewise, mate.
so, like, what's, like, why a little bit of a backstory or whatever, what's kind of led you to this point to actually really have that
focus on mental health.
Focus on the mental health.
Well, yeah, basically, I guess it's all a part of my journey and my story. Obviously, I'm a bit older now. I've had a fair bit of life experience growing up. Travelled, had businesses, all that sort of stuff, and lots of mates. And I've been through tough times myself, as probably everyone has. Everyone can relate to those times. So, focusing on the mental health side of it and staying positive. Now that I've sort of come through, I guess, the challenges of adolescence and early adulthood and sort of found my feet now, I can reflect back and see how tough some of the times were. And in reflection, when you've got that support around you during those times, how much easier you come through that. And I see more and more, the struggles that people have with mental health, and in particular, suicide is such a big problem in our country at the moment. And I guess I'm in a position now where I've got the platform, so I can use my gym, which is great, sort of to couple in with a bit of, that mental health sort of support side of it. So I'm interested in exploring that more, especially when we reopen, providing some sort of guidance for, in particular, youth, young men, because it's such a big problem. And I can relate to some of the, the struggles that these guys are going through. And I just feel like I'm in a position now where I understand it more because I'm older. I can relate because I've been through some of these experiences, and just giving back and supporting people. And you know what, it's just an extra element to add, and it's super rewarding. When you reach out, as you'd know, and you get feedback. Thanks, mate. I really appreciate what you're doing for me, sort of thing. So
And it's wonderful. Like, it gives you a little bit of a, like, if you are on that giving end and you get that, but it's also having that person there, knowing that you do understand with, like, what they're going through, and rather than just trying to cast judgment. And I think like what you're doing is allowing that platform to be there for people to access, and it's such a valuable resource.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, the platform. So I think, putting the sort of gym or the exercise, where it's in the gym environment, whatever it is, in with that sort of engagement and support, I think it works really well to have them both together. I know that you do a lot of that sort of stuff as well. And it really helps people out. So, and like I said, it's just such a big problem in our country, and I'm sure across the world. But looking into our own backyard, we need to start, focusing on helping those people out, getting educated about it, spreading awareness, breaking down the stigma.
Yeah,
all those things that come with it. Yeah.
What would you say is, like, a good way of actually probably breaking down the stigma? Because, like, there is that kind of, it gets thrown around a bit, like, break down the stigma.
Yeah.
What would you reckon, like, as, like, one of your tips is, or one of your ideas on, like, breaking down a stigma as such?
Well, I think firstly, to feel okay to talk about it. So essentially having those tough conversations, preferably, one-on-one in an individual sort of situation, especially when you're talking to these people that are going through these struggles. You don't want to, have an audience around or whatever. So, sort of having the tough conversation with people, being a bit vulnerable, and opening up and sort of spreading, I guess on a whole level, that it's okay to struggle and not be okay, and also that talking about it is, it's not a weakness. It's not a sign of weakness. We need to talk about it. So yeah, back to your question, I think most importantly, talking about these things, and creating awareness that we need to talk about these things. So reach out, and it's okay not to be okay, basically.
Yeah, it's a great start, and it's like, I think, like, even at these times, it's just like when you haven't seen anyone for a while, I think that's the biggest thing right now, is that reaching out to those people that you haven't seen, regardless of whether they're always good or someone who is kind of like reserved in what they they normally are, and they might be on that little bit of like the on the downward slope or a depressive state. I think everybody needs to check in on everybody at the moment, regardless of how
Yeah.
their situation.
And that's a bit to do with the stigma too. I mean, especially for our generation, I think if we push hard now, it'll break the stigma, and generations in front of us might, understand it a bit more and feel more comfortable about talking about it. But a lot of guys and females, they bottle it up and keep it inside, especially during these times. So yeah, reaching out, checking in on a mate, showing that you're there, you're there to support them. It can be as simple as a message, can turn things around. So, yeah, these times are tough for a lot of people, but I think, being there for people around you is super important.
Absolutely. I agree with you for sure. What brings me to my neck, like, what kind of led you into this path? Like, what kind of, is there, like, most people who have kind of, like for myself, there was my attempted suicide. It kind of got to that point where I was like, well, I've done. And now, and I came out of the other side, and now I'm like, well, I've been given this second chance to kind of go forth and help people, because like I don't want people to be back where I was. And like that's what they say is like your biggest, like the best chance to help people is to tell them not to be where you, or help them out of where you once were. And so like was there a catalyst for you that really was like, bang, I've got to do this?
Like I said, when I was, it reflects on my story, my journey a little bit. I had a pretty serious operation when I was a kid, and at the time didn't really know the impact it would have on me or how to deal with it. But now that I've sort of matured and I've turned into an adult, I guess, I can reflect and, like I said, see where I was and see the struggles. It wasn't like a light switch went off, or it was a major incident like you're talking about. It was more me, I guess, struggling with myself for a long time when I was a kid, with processing that and not having anyone to talk to or reach out to, not knowing how to go about it. So for me, it's about I guess putting myself and seeing that situation in other people, especially younger people. And also, I mean, last year I had a really good mate take his own life, which definitely triggered the emotions and made me come back into the mental health side of it and start to focus on my own mental health, and start to explore study and like I said, promoting awareness and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, just basically my story and knowing struggles and that sort of stuff. It's been an ongoing sort of thing for me, and I enjoy the helping people and getting that positive feedback, I guess.
Yeah. And just even hearing your story there is like I heard, like I knew as you growing up you had your operation and stuff like that, but just even knowing like that what you were going through, and that we, like, as a friendship group, probably didn't know, like, and at that time, and in that time in our lives, there wasn't this whole awareness around helping people and talking about it. And especially like with yourself, is like talking, and that actually just really blows me away. It actually even makes me feel really quite sad, the fact that you, one of my good mates, was going through this at a time when you really actually did need the boys to actually talk to.
Yeah.
But now, like, it's such a good thing. It's like being able to have this dialogue now and actually be able to help people along the way, I reckon.
Yeah. So for me, it was about bottling it up, not burdening anyone with it. I didn't want anyone to feel sorry for me, but also I felt very isolated. And it was a mental battle for a long time. Like I had the sort of operation when I was about 14, probably not until my 20s till I could even have a conversation, even start a conversation about it now. But that's why I keep reflecting back to. I've matured. I've grown up. Now I'm in a position where I'm comfortable to talk about it, and I hope that in opening up and talking about it, other people can see that and realize it's okay, and these things need to be talked about. But it's not anyone's fault. Like, especially back then, like you said, there was not a lot of an awareness about mental health. There wasn't really a push to talk about it and be vulnerable and all that sort of stuff. So moving forward, if we have these conversations like you and me are now, it's hopefully going to put in the groundwork for people younger than us to not have to go through that sort of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, so that kind of brings me to the next point, and you just kind of touched on it going forward, the younger people. Like, you're a soon-to-be new dad. What is there, like, you've probably had a fair bit of time, or you do have a fair bit of time once you know that you're having a child, that to think about these things that, like, maybe you didn't get when you were a child, or what you're now wanting to do as a father, is being a little bit more having that communication and allowing your child. Is that something that would kind of come up for you?
Oh, 100%. I think, is insane, like the life experience and I've had and all that sort of stuff is definitely going to put me in a good position to, be a reflective, good parent. Definitely encouraging. I definitely want to encourage, honesty and openness about everything that's going on. I've had time. I've got more time than ever right now to think about it. Obviously, it's coming up pretty quick, but I can see, where I've gone wrong and how I've handled things as a kid and growing up, and I hopefully can apply that to redirecting and helping out. We don't know what having, boy or girl, yet. I'm feeling a girl though. I think we're having a girl, but yeah, boy or girl, whatever we have, yeah, hopefully being there is that, that firstly a good role model and someone that a parent that they feel comfortable in opening up and talking about these tough things. 100%, yeah.
Yeah, something that, like, obviously getting older and you start to think about when you have that family, and it's definitely something as when I eventually become a father, that the same sort of situation is just like, I really want to be able to be that father that allows the kid to come to me and have that kind of discussion. Whether they probably won't want to talk to me all the time. Like, I wouldn't expect them to want to talk to me all the time, but I still want to be able to have that point where they feel open to be able to share whatever's going on. And, like, I may not be able to fix everything, and I don't want to try and fix everything, but it's that kind of, you start to think, well, that's what really, I think, of generations past, is that it was like, you'll be right, mate, get back out there kind of situation. So
yeah,
I think
definitely.
the you'll be right thing is kind of like, we have this chance on our generation, and anyone else after us is kind of breaking down that you'll be right, and just actually listening.
Yeah, I think obviously with more awareness about how to treat these situations and how to approach it, it's definitely shifted away from that "you'll be fine, mate," like, toughen up, tough love sort of thing. It's about how you react around these situations that will create that get friendship and bond for them to be able to open up, rather than being sort of dismissive. You'll be fine. It's life. It's part of growing up. The initial, how you approach it and how, words you use and all that sort of stuff will sort of shape how they see you in their life. I think I'm going into this is my first kid, but these are the thoughts I'm sort of having, moving ahead, thinking about how I want to raise my kid. Yeah. But it's just such a crazy world out there at the moment, isn't it? Like, it is scary at the same time. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, especially when us as two people right now are still trying to navigate what the hell is happening in the world,
Yeah.
and then you've got this
Mm.
this bit of a daunting task of actually now bringing
Yeah.
a child into what is the unknown. But I
Mm.
guess in the big scheme of things, everything's unknown. Like
Mm.
that's kind of what COVID's kind of it's showed us is like you can't plan for anything anymore. Like you can't plan for 7 years down the track. Like
No.
you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. And that's one thing that's really taught me about this whole thing is like a year of we had a year of travel planned and we had all this stuff planned, and
Mm.
it's just been turned on its head, and like literally you got to take it by day and just enjoy it for what it is. And I think
Mm.
as a new parent, that's probably one of the golden things is to be able to like once you eventually have your child is like enjoy every day as it is as that
Mm.
child just begins to grow. And
Yeah.
even as Hannah's pregnant, I'm guessing like it's still a good thing to watch her develop and see how.
Yeah. As bad as the timing is right now, I mean, I'm at home more than ever, so I'm sure she's had enough of me because she gets home from work and I'm here. She leaves for work and I'm here. She's still working, but I think like it's crazy, but at the same time, the timing has helped us all. It's put a lot of things in perspective, put it that way, and just cherishing each day, like you said, as it comes. There's no point in forward thinking too much or stressing about it all. I think that's a good way to be, and I think that's the sort of way we'll raise our kid too. Um, but I'll be here a lot of the time, depending on how long this goes for. So good timing, but also really crazy timing at the same time. Mm.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
So what's the plan? What's the plans going forward for F45 Dubbo? Like and when you first started there, it was like you're going out there to see how it's going, but by the
Mm.
sounds of it, it's just kicking goals and you're like going forward.
Yeah. So yeah, things were cruising. So I've been open for almost 2 years now. I moved out from Sydney. I had another business in Sydney, and thought I'd expand, come back into fitness, and open my own gym, F45, so franchise. Chose Dubbo. Um, it was sort of the last territory left that was close to Sydney. As you know, the F45 journey, it's just boomed in Australia. So a lot of territories were taken up. So took a stab in the dark, did a bit of research, decided to go for Dubbo. And the plan was, like you said, just to bounce backwards and forwards from Sydney with my other business. But I mean, I forgot what it's like. I remember when I opened my other business, just, the first year or two is just crazy. And I wasn't, out of my depth, but it was a lot to take on. And once I got here, I sort of realised I needed to be here a bit longer, put a little bit more in with the opening and all that sort of stuff. And essentially, I haven't left since. So sold my business in Sydney. And also, you know what it's like in the fitness industry. I mean, I went from a completely different industry that I wasn't enjoying so much, came back into fitness and was really enjoying that positive, environment where you're getting, positive feedback. You're helping people with their mental health, their goals, all that sort of stuff. And I basically just thought, I love doing this. I'm going to stay here. Moved Hannah out here, and we haven't left. So, I mean, moving forward, the plan is obviously to get through this little bit of a lull, I guess, or pandemic, throw that word out there. But get through that and get back into the gym, get everyone back in there and start pushing forward. And you're right, it really has kicked off out here. The community has gotten right behind us, and all systems go, full steam ahead. It's been really good move. Mm.
That's great, mate. I just realised I kind of contradicted myself. I literally said live life by the minute, and then asked you about something for about the future. But
Well,
yeah, no, it sounds like it's great. Like what you're doing out there, and like going forward, like whatever it is, like minute by minute, day by day, year by year, like you've bought something to Dubbo that is valuable, and
yeah,
just allowing people to continue to grow there is going to be a great resource for them and a great place to go to for many years to come, I'd hope.
oh,
Um,
yeah, for
uh,
sure.
Yeah, so it's been pretty interesting listening, like just watching your journey go through. Like, well, you're over in Thailand being a PT, then
Mm.
um, washing cars, as you would say.
Washing cars, yeah. It's been a definitely a roller coaster, mate.
I can't
Um,
put,
yeah,
yeah, just yeah, like that's the best thing. I've seen like your journey. For those at home, I mentioned in the introduction. Just want to give them a little bit of a journey why Jed is now where he is, and how he got there.
yeah. Where do I start? Um, I guess that as far as
But
passporting, like I grew up on the Central Coast where you actually you didn't grow up there.
I
You
came
came
from
in.
Cooma. I came from Cooma, then to the Central Coast when I was
Yeah.
14. Yeah.
So we met in high school,
Yes.
correct? Yes.
Correct.
It's going way back. This is a long time ago. Testing me out. So yeah, grew up on the Central Coast. Fast forward a little bit. 17, 18, started sort of getting into fitness. That was my first taste of fitness. Started lifting weights, not knowing a lot about it, all that sort of stuff. My first real goal that I can sort of relate to was, you remember me, I was basically the stick growing up. I was the skinniest kid um, in our year possibly. So for me, my goal was to put on a bit of muscle, build a bit of strength. I realised for me, this is going back to those inner struggles that you have. For me, I had, I guess, what you'd say confidence issues. I was the skinniest kid. I get pushed around. Once you get to that age, you start going out and all that sort of stuff. So my goal was to put on a bit of size, start lifting weights, throwing weights around like you do. Going way back before fitness was the movement it is now. I mean, no social media. We had MSN Messenger, I think. That's how we used to communicate. Most people probably can't even remember what that is. MySpace, all that sort of stuff. So there wasn't a lot of
Bring back
awareness.
MySpace.
Yeah, MySpace. Remember
Oh,
that? That took off. What was his name? Tom. Tom
Tom,
from MySpace.
I occasionally tweet him, and I go,
How's he going?
I tweeted him a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago, and I said, Tom, what would the world be like if you actually if MySpace still existed? And he replied back, a way better place.
He replied.
He replied back.
Wow.
So I was stoked, and I tweeted him again the other day, like, Tom, how's that resurrection of MySpace going? He goes, if only it could happen.
Wow, he's still keeping the dream alive at least.
He's traveling the world, or he was traveling
I
the
can't
world.
believe you responded. Good on you.
Neither can
Top
I.
bloke. Yeah, that was a long time ago. So I mean, the internet. I remember getting the internet not long before this sort of time in our life. 15, 16-year-old sort of thing. So it was really hard to research and find information about fitness and all that sort of stuff. So I went to TAFE and did my certs. And this is back when you had to actually go full time and study. I think it took me 6 months. Not like now where you can jump on and do it, in 12 weeks or whatever it is, the faster courses. So I learned everything I could about that, which obviously I then began to apply to my own training. And I sort of pursued, I guess, just sticking to basically weights, and trying to bulk up as much as I could for those first few years. Moved to London, did a bit of it over there. This is all stuff that you add to your experience under your belt.
Absolutely.
But then I sort of went off the fitness for a bit. And I travelled. I should throw in. I lived in Thailand for a bit. That's a big part.
Yeah, Thailand was a pretty big part for you.
Yeah, I went to Thailand for a couple of years, and I did freelance PT over there. So that was, a really good experience for me. Training expats in Bangkok. I lived in Bangkok. Had my own sort of business, and just tapped into the expat community. And I'd travel around Bangkok and train them in their own studios and gyms.
That was actually like one of that point in time in your life is like one of my inspirations to actually travel and take my knowledge. Like that's what one of my big goals is, just to be able to continue to travel and show people what my knowledge is. And just I still relate that back to that point in time. It's like, yeah, well, Jed used to do this PT over in Bangkok. So
at the time it was pretty crazy. People were like, what do you mean you're moving to Thailand? This is before Thailand was the mega hub that it is now, tourist hotspot. And I was such a young bloke, and had no money or anything. And, I've always sort of been like that. I think, if you want to do something, do it and you'll make it work, So I made it work for a couple of years, but obviously I had to come back to reality at some point. And I came back to Australia, even more broke than when I left. But, you don't look at it that way. Like it was a life experience I'll never forget. Some of the best, lessons learnt ever were over there. So when I came back, I had to hit a reset. I lived at home at Copacabana there for a while, bummed around on the beach, sort of trying to work out what I was going to do. And then, like you said, I got into, washing cars for a living. So a bit of a change, but I ended up opening my own auto salon. So got out of fitness, like I was mentioning before, and learnt the fundamentals of running a business, I guess, when I did that. I was a freelance PT. It didn't prepare me at all for what was involved in running a shop. But I had no idea. I had no support or anything, and just sort of learnt the ropes. Back against the wall sort of stuff, just punched through it. And 6 years of hard work, but built a pretty good business, I guess. And learnt lots of lessons about how to run a business and all that sort of stuff in that time period. But I mean, probably you've had a taste of Sydney life. It wasn't really. It was starting to wear me down, living the rat race.
Yeah.
Working 16-hour days, all that sort of stuff, and decided to come to Dubbo.
Well, there you go. It's a great journey, and like the thing is, like you said, you've learned a lot from business and like about business, even in Sydney, and like that's what the Mindful Man Project about. It's like mates, muscle, mindfulness, and mastery, and like you're doing everything. Like you've nailed all four of the Mindful Man Project pillars. It's just like that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to get you on here, because it's like just even seeing like you started the car wash or the detailing business from nothing, literally washing bombs, to then washing like $750,000 cars, like just to see that happen and to watch it evolve through, like you said, blood, sweat, and tears. It does show that like that hard work really does end up paying off. But I'm sure you've probably learnt like what things have you learnt that you could probably pass on to other people to, like, in that business realm, that they could potentially take on board if they are kind of like at that point of the beginning, or they're just really trying to grind and just at that point of almost breaking through.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've got to really back yourself. There's a lot of, self-doubt does come into it, and people, it's easy for people to, sort of deter you and put you down, and, from whether it's family or mates, sort of making you second guess what you're going to do. I think you really need to just back yourself. If there's any hesitation, it's not going to work. And getting, stripping it back when the fundamentals are hard work. It's such hard work. And, when you got those long days, for me, I started at the bottom, at a car wash, washing cars for, peanuts, basically, not going anywhere. But in reflecting, that's where I sort of learned how to work hard and apply my knowledge to, if you'd even, call it knowledge of washing cars, working really hard and just sucking it up and trusting the process and backing yourself. So, I mean, it will pay off. It's all about hard work and just staying focused. It's a hell of a roller coaster, and you're going to have a lot of struggles, but you just build up. You build on top of those struggles each time. Learn more, and dust yourself off and keep going. And that's about business, and that's why a lot of businesses sort of, I guess you'd say, fail at the start, because essentially it comes down to real hard work. That's what I base everything on that I've ever done. Working hard. It can be shit, but you got to push through that and stick it out, and you'll get out the other side. Yeah.
Yeah, like you'd say, like probably one of the big things is like if you have a failure is like would you say just learning from it rather than walking away from it? It's like just kind
Yeah,
of like not being too proud to actually make a mistake and just continue to like learn from those, like even if
mm,
it's even the smallest ones, is kind of just looking
yeah,
at it and turning that into a learning
yeah.
experience.
It definitely sounds cliche to say, but I don't think you'd class them as a failure or a mistake. I think it's all learning. It's all learning experience, and it just helps you to come back stronger. And the next time you find yourself in that situation, you know how to combat it and get through it better. So, I mean, I've made lots of mistakes in business or in life, and it's pretty fair to say you don't usually make the same mistake twice. So it's good to make mistakes and learn on them and build on them. But yeah, I don't think necessarily walking away and hanging your head and getting all down about it's the right way to go. Certainly reflect for a little bit about it and think about how you can do better next time. But it's all part of learning, and it just strengthens you at the end of the day, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's one of the things. It's like I've kind of been grinding away doing this sort of stuff for a little while now. And it's kind of, you start to, if you severely, like you really believe in what you're doing and you believe in your overarching values, like whatever anybody else says, they shouldn't
Yeah.
it shouldn't be able to hold you back.
Well, we should reflect on you for a second here, like what you've done, mate. Like, unbelievable. You moved down to Melbourne. Um, similar situation to me when I set out. Not really sure. Probably second guessing yourself. A lot of people probably saying, "What are you doing?" But you've worked hard and you've broken through it, and now look at you go, sort of thing.
Yeah.
You of all people would be able to relate to those tough times and hard work. You've been locking horns for a while, and you've come through it all. But like you said, it's tough, man. It's really tough, and you do have doubt, but you come through it, right? You apply yourself, you learn from your mistakes, your ups and downs, and you just keep punching forward.
I think, and one of the biggest things is I've learned along the way is you look at the successful people, but you can't compare your journey to where they are, because it's like they're like one of my favorite quotes is like you don't compare your chapter 1 to someone's chapter 9. It's like
Yeah.
wherever you are in that journey, you got to continue to keep moving forward and just like keep those chapters rolling.
Yeah.
And
Well,
this,
you don't know, everyone's got a different story, and you don't know how they've gotten there or, what they've been through. It's good to, aspire to other people and take on advice and all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's you, writing your own book. So, yeah, I think you're right. You got to focus on yourself and not take too much of it in. But we've all got our own stories, and we're all at very different stages to that. And that's why I also say, you cliche again, don't judge a book by its cover. Everyone's living their own story, own life. Been through things others haven't. So, what makes everyone unique, and it's not a bad thing, I don't think.
oh, absolutely. I think it's great because like everybody's different, and that's the best thing. Like even being a PT and like in the fitness industry, that's the biggest puzzle about being in the industry that we're at, because you're dealing with so many different people on a daily basis, different profiles, different
Yeah.
personalities, different body types, and it's just one of the greatest things to be able to help people in that realm. And
Well, it makes our job exciting, doesn't it? Like imagine coming into the same, exact same person, same body shape every day. It wouldn't be the same. So that all presents different challenges too. So yeah, diversity and everyone being a little bit unique is definitely a good thing for sure. I know I'm a little bit unique sometimes, a little bit crazy, but yeah, I think yeah, writing your own book, sticking to your own story.
absolutely.
You'll have bad chapters, but you'll definitely have some good ones too.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you. Absolutely. I generally always finish with the 3 questions for my guests.
There we go. All good. Just put me on the spot.
Throw you under the bus. Nah, that's not too bad. What 3 things that you would probably tell your younger self?
What would I tell my younger self?
that you know now? But you know now, what would you tell your younger self?
Probably to listen more and take on advice more when I was younger. Being a little bit less stubborn about, when I was an adolescent. Respecting your elders and listening to what they've got to say. It's funny, like you hear when you're growing up, oh, you'll be an old bloke one day, and you're like, whatever, mate. But yeah, listening more for sure. Also, I think going with your gut feeling. So, I sort of developed that a bit later on, but just going with what you feel's right. And also, holding on to mates and family, valuing that sort of aspect of life a little bit more too. Growing up, you sort of don't really think about that so much when you sort of, in your own dimension, I guess, as a teenager and young adult, especially family, placing them above everything. I think it's really important. Yeah.
It's three good things. They resonate with me really well. It's like they're definitely three powerful ones that you could probably tell yourself any time of the day. The family thing. Yeah,
Family's really important for me, and it's it becomes more apparent as you get older, I guess. Yeah.
Absolutely, mate. Couldn't agree more. Let's we wind it up there. Where can everybody catch up with you, meet you, want to follow you on Instagram if they want to follow you, follow Ghost or whatever they want?
Ghost, follow me on Instagram. It's Jedi_Hardy, so JEDI_HARDI. I don't use Facebook. I use it for my business, but yeah, I've got F45 Training Dubbo too, which can obviously be reached through that. But also my staffy's probably more popular than me. He's got his own Instagram too, which you'll see. But yeah, hit me up on Instagram. It's probably the best way to go. Yeah.
Wonderful, mate. Thank you for your time today. Keep fighting the good fight, and
too. Hopefully, I'll come down and visit you once this all passes.
Yeah, if we're still here, mate. Well, that brings us to the end of today's show. If you like what you heard and want to get all the info, check out the show notes. While you're there, rate and review the show. And one last thing, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming episodes. Until next time, my friends, continue to look out for each other and continue to lift each other up.